Yep, let's go ahead, Krishna, with your demo.
Yeah, sure. Share my screen. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Not yet. Yep.
Yeah. So this is the project. So I was just going back a few steps, like how we were having a demo last week on the pet clinic project, right from where we generate the Docker image and then use that in the Kubernetes service. So I went back to this pet clinic project and made some changes. So I think this is probably a little more straightforward and easier for people who are having configuration issues. So what I did was, I mean, this is the first time I've experimented this, but I went to this GitHub Actions and created a few workflows. If I just step through individually with each of the workflow, so the first one that I built was this building the app itself, the pet clinic app. So here you're essentially not doing anything on your laptop directly. So this is another approach where you're using the source code within your GitHub itself to check out the code, as in this step will check out the code, set up the right JDK, and then package the application itself and deploy. And then the next steps will then go on to create other things, as in create a Docker image and then push it on. So yeah, in this step, if I'm just covering this step, yeah. So what, if you remember a few weeks back, I showed the deployment with using Postgres as the database. So I'm still trying to cover the same thing, use Postgres as the database, because that's what in my company, some of the products use that. So yeah, I'm using Postgres here. So what this will do is essentially just clean and package the file. And then the next step in this stage is the sneak security. So this is again where you provide a token and then it checks out the code and then runs some analysis and then uploads those results onto your GitHub repository. The last stage where I changed again a little bit, instead of pushing this to Docker Hub, I'm moving all this once I generate the Docker image. So I'm using the Docker file here. Using this Docker file, I'm building the Docker image and then pushing it onto my ECR registry.
Can you highlight a little bit that in the Maven build phase, you created a jar file or something?
That's right. So there are two
How
phases
is
here.
that available to your this AWS YAML file so that
Right.
you
Yeah.
can package in Docker?
Yeah. So I think this step itself is more like a quick check to ensure that the package is available for ready to be consumed by the sneak security to verify some operations, whether the code is good enough to go on to the next stage. But just before it goes into this AWS stage, if you notice, the way we are building here is doing Docker build -t and then using the dot. So what it does here is looks for the Docker file within the repository, and within the repository, I have this Docker file. And here, what I'm doing is I'm using a version of JDK as the base image, 20, and then I'm building the package again here, and then copying that package, the jar file that it normally generates to the target, onto the app within the container itself. And then I'm starting the container using Java jar with that container, with that jar file.
So hang on, just 1 second. So
Yeah.
within this Docker file, you are again building the app.
That's correct. Yeah.
So then there is no need to transfer the jar file from stage 1 to right?
Yeah, so that's one thing I wasn't quite still. I mean, I don't know if it's some peculiarity within the GitHub Actions, but what I initially tried was use this Maven build. And what it was doing at this stage was to create a output file, the jar file,
Yeah.
into a specific directory called the target directory within that. But
Yeah.
when I went back to this, when I put in an intermediate stage to consume that jar file, it was saying that file was not available in the
Okay.
target folder. So I'm not entirely sure why it can't read the, I mean, I didn't use this path, but the path where it was generating the jar file to with the target star.jar and then
Right.
trying to put it here without these steps essentially. So actually these steps are not supposed to be needed from what I thought, because in Jenkins, we don't do this.
You will
But
eventually you end up doing these things, but you need to understand that in this case, your
yeah.
Docker file will also have the source code copy,
Oh, okay.
and it is not advisable. So there are opportunities to improve this, make
Yeah.
use of that jar file that you built in the first stage to be reused, but how you have to do it is slightly unknown. So it could be there might be a way to ensure that it stays at the target location, because these are two different jobs. Your target
Yeah.
location may be cleaned up, because this job will start with a new base file and new Docker image. So your target location may not have that. So how you push that to a repository, that's where tools like Artifactory or Nexus or those things come into picture. One job will push it, the other will you will download from there.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, sure.
Or you can explore the multi-stage that was demonstrated, that within this process, you use multi-stage pipeline, where first stage is to build, create the jar file. Second stage is to use that jar file. That's it.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So these are the options we have. Cool.
Okay. Yeah. We'll give that a try. Yeah. So so this is where as I showed here in this AWS YAML, that will look for building the jar file, and this is where it's going to look for and build the jar using this jar file with this profile, so that when you have a Postgres database, it will be able to talk to that. So once I run this, it should essentially push the code into the ECR repository. So these are all in the secrets that I've set for the ECR repository registry and all this information. Yeah, so essentially earlier in some of my earlier ones project, when I was doing, I was using a Jenkins file, but the trouble with using Jenkins is that you have to plan ahead, do all the, although you can run a Terraform script or something to get all this loaded up. It's just that there will be few other additional configurations, as in adding some plugins and stuff that you'd again have to write some sort of script or do them manually. So I thought of exploring the GitHub Actions. Also gives me a little more understanding on how things work on this side of things.
Exactly. That's great. And you will realize there are similarities and there are differences.
Yeah.
That you can always take into your interview. In fact, you can talk, GitLab works 90% like this.
Right.
So you can talk about GitLab in your discussions, Circle CI, all of these work. And 90% of Azure DevOps would probably work in this way.
Right.
Azure DevOps also has a bit of plugin knowledge, because it's product plus some plugins come into picture. You can analyze but eventually you end up writing a very similar YAML file for your CI/CD process. Cool.
Yes. Yeah. If I mean, what I could do is, so if I wanted to trigger these things to run through, so if I go back to code, So these are my, so the workflows itself will be found under .github/workflows. And if I were to, I mean, I can manually trigger it, or the other way to trigger this based on the changes that I've done is any changes that I make to the branches main, whether I do a pull request or a push to the main branch. So these should trigger, and I've set up some dependencies, as in if I'm going to this security one, it needs to make sure the building of the pet clinic app is completed first, and then the AWS building, or I mean deploying to jar, is again dependent on the code scan to finish. So kind of ensuring that this Maven build will happen first, the security scan next, followed by the deployment to the ECR. So if for now, if I just try to push a, let's say I want to change the home page of the pet clinic app. So currently I've got this, and if I try to change the URL, so I go into my source code, and I think it's pets.png, which is the one that it's picking up. So if I try changing this to something else. So if I now push this, so I pushed across the change now, and if I now if I go back to my I'll try bring up the pet clinic app again. Maybe. Yeah, good. So yeah, so 1 minute ago it was triggered. If I go directly to the actions, yeah, you'll see that this particular deployment is running. So if I go, yeah, it's building the image again. I think this takes about a minute or so for this operation to complete. So while that's going on, I think the other thing that happens is because of the security, what that sneak security does is if there are any issues that it finds with the code, it's going to update this section in the code scanning. So this was when I first ran it yesterday evening, and then it brought up all of these issues with the code. So probably something like we can use them as something we can change that into a bug or something to fix later on from a code perspective.
Correct. Just read about some of these issues, especially the last one, cross-site scripting or so.
Yeah.
This is an out-of-the-box Sneak integration, right?
That's right. Yeah, that's correct. I just used the template that was provided. Yeah, the other good thing is, so the way I built it, because I had no knowledge of how this works. So I just did a new workflow, and then there are loads of pre-built ones.
Templates are there.
And you can just configure to what you want. So this is how I started using it over the last few days. Found it really helpful and quite easy, to be honest, to make changes. So I think, yeah, so the deploy has finished. If I go to ECR, so the deployment has completed, and which should mean that so if I go back to ECR, earlier I had something from an old version, I think. So this is my private proposal. So if I go in here, yeah, so I've tagged it as latest, and the one that I just pushed has come through here. So that's now the way what I was additionally trying to do was, when there is a new deployment here, as a new image, I was trying to use the ArgoCD image uploader or something, which will track changes to the repository and then rebuild the pet clinic app with the new image. But as of now, I don't think that will work. But I mean, manually, I can do a rollout deployment. So I'm currently in my in the cluster, in the AWS cluster, and got so yeah, I've got currently the pet clinic deployment, where I've got the app running with two of the main two pods, and then the database across two pods. So if I were to, because I haven't made any changes here, but still in my code, what I'm doing is, if I go to my pet clinic app code and deployment. So what I'm doing is, I'm just using the same image with the tag latest, but the latest has been replaced. The way I triggered it last time, the change was to use the I think kubectl deployment rollout, I think. I think that's probably it. Okay, let me just check. I can't remember the exact command. Maybe. Okay, let me just have a quick. Um, Okay, rollout start. Yeah, I think so. That will restart the Bitcoin deployment. So if I do kubectl rollout status, says rolled up. So yeah, as you can see, this pods have restarted. It's got the age within seconds now. And the I think this service, the load balancer service, will still remain the same. Yeah, reload this. Yeah, so this. Yeah, so let's change the home page now. And, yeah, so basically without changing anything in without running any of the building of jars or images, just by using the um, just by using the GitHub actions, I'm able to get this to work. So this one I think is cached, so not able to get
Yeah,
this to
there will
work.
be a bit of caching here. So
Yeah, I'll probably use the other one. Yeah, so on the database side, so I've tried a few things. So as you can see, what I've done here is use the um, stateful set for the Postgres database. So what this has done is, if I show here in the database side of things, stateful set. The idea with stateful set is that we'll always have replicas running, and will have direct access with their own dedicated database. So the chances of something when one of the database goes down, the other one will still remain. That seems to be working okay for the most part, but I have to admit this is not a comprehensive solution. So what I've tested was bringing down both the instances of the database, and then it just couldn't cope with that. So I think that involves a lot more than just some settings here. I think I need to go into the actual container and make some changes within that for replication and other kind of stuff. So as it is, it's okay with just a few things. As in, if I now kill one of the pods like Postgres 1 or Postgres 0, it wouldn't fall over. It will still work. It will still have the additional DB, but it's not a foolproof solution from what I could see. But I guess it's just one starting point to get two pods running with their own dedicated um, uh, persistent volumes. So if I do kubectl get PB, you'll see two of them here, two PVCs. Then these are connected with their own data, GP2 data. So yeah, that's one of those things. And then on the just to highlight also that I've made sure I've in my EKS cluster I've got some private and public domains. So for example, this Postgres would make sure it's choosing the private nodes so that it is not exposed to the outside world. And on the pet clinic app side, I'm choosing the public nodes because it needs to be accessible over the internet. Those are a couple of things that I tried to do. So I've got the code within, if I just do this, so I've got this Terraform where I'm building my EKS cluster, EKS nodes with public and private nodes in them. So I think it's probably easier to see from here if I go to the Elastic Kubernetes service. And then within pet clinic app, got resources, and within the cluster, got different nodes. So I've got two for private and two for public nodes. And obviously the EC2 instances as well, you'll see there are two of those with an IP that you can reach, and public IP, and then two on the private key. And just to finish off, the last thing I tried was to set up a Grafana dashboard to monitor how things are going. So this is one of the pre-built dashboards on Grafana that I've used. And I'm monitoring the namespace. So
can you explain, like, can we just start to make sense of this dashboard? What does it show?
Yeah. So from a very high level, this is a dashboard that is particularly looking at the pet clinic namespace. I mean, you can scroll through different namespaces, but the one
we would want to know, like, we shouldn't be focusing just on a specific namespace, like there could be more than one in the same cluster.
Yeah.
And what does it show at the cluster level? What does it show at the node level?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I can, I mean, from what I could see, so so this is something that I've just tried out very recently, but if there are several dashboards that you could use for Grafana, and if you just search for Grafana dashboards, you will be able to actually add any number of them that you want. So the ones that I've built is specifically around so okay, let me just go to data source. So Prometheus with Grafana is what I'm looking for. So if I look for Prometheus, okay, so this is data source. Yeah, if I do Prometheus here and collector type, then this should be okay. Yeah, Grafana. So Grafana again has got several different ways of monitoring it. But if I just put this back to all, so what it will do is, if I, for example, if I'm picking up this particular dashboard, what you could do is, so it will tell you some information of what is required, or where will it work with the default, and those kind of information is provided here. And what you have to do is just copy this ID if you'd like, for example, to see what is displayed using this dashboard here. So if you go into Grafana and then go to import dashboard, and then you can just literally paste that ID here and then do a load, and then use your data source, which is from this, and import. And then this will show you different stats about your current cluster. So it's the data source is from here. This is the job and this is the host. So there are different hosts on this cluster, and by default it is showing the current one, and it's showing the CPU state, as you can see, memory basics. This is showing last 24 hours. Because I've been running not for that long, so probably take the last one up. And then it kind of shows you based on how much CPU is being used, how much memory, network traffic, disk space. I think there's loads and loads of information that you can monitor. I think the exact usage and usefulness will be more noticeable when you have a large cluster to monitor, and I think some sort of alerting as well, which I haven't implemented yet. But I think seeing this dashboard is one thing, but unless it sends out an alert, it's probably not going to.
Correct. So what you have done is used Prometheus inside your cluster, and then trying to visualize this through Grafana.
Exactly.
Then there are out-of-the-box dashboards available. So this one is mainly looking at individual node level. The one that you had previously, that one that gives you a little bit of more information collectively, like that was at different individual nodes, how they are behaving and that sort of thing. So look at this, try to make this will look at these here, see memory usage, the CPU usage, and all that, what is the OS version and all that sort of thing. Similarly, there is another open source project called Alert Manager that again you can deploy in your cluster, and through that you can identify some sort of issues in your cluster and try to send notifications to your Slack or your Jira or email, SMS, whatever your system you have. Alert Manager is again a very good use case, because dashboards are good, fancy, but you don't look at it 24/7, so you need some sort of alerts coming in.
That's right. And obviously Elasticsearch is something that I was looking to do, but haven't done it yet. But it's in my list of things to do as well.
Try to set up some notifications there in Alert Manager, and in the PDF document that I will share today, I will include like some of the typical use cases that are included in the like, for example, your desired capacity of pods is 5 and your replica set, it's not matching. Your pods are not in running state, they are not ready state. There is a typical problem that happens in Kubernetes is that if your Docker image is not stable for some reason, then, and you have set a desired capacity of say 5 containers, it will try to create those containers, but because those are not stable, they will crash, they will die. And because Kubernetes is an self-healing thing, it will try to create them again, but because they are not stable, they will again crash. So it goes into a sort of infinite loop of crashing loops basically, and it will never resolve itself unless someone get that notification. Notification could be directly from your customers, or you could within your system have that identification that these are crashing regularly for this reason, and you can take some action. Usually Kubernetes is not the problem. Problem is usually the container coming to a ready state, and you need to usually have to fix either the compute capacity of the cluster, or sometimes, or most of the time rather, is the container image not being stable. You have latest image that you pushed which is not stable in nature. So yeah, those are some of the notification that we should set up using Alert Manager. Awesome.
I think that's yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Krishna. This is really helpful.
No,
and I hope people will get some more idea how they can proceed, how they can take help from the research that you have done. Awesome. I think you have learned quite a bit of in this Terraform also. You use Terraform, then you use Postgres, which other people are not using. Like you use pretty much all different tools and technologies. Very, very unique approach.
Yeah, so GitHub Actions was just completely, I mean, I was blown away when I started using it, because it makes life so much easier compared to setting up Jenkins and all those tools, and keeping track of all the updates and all that. So yeah, I found this to be really helpful. I mean, people have contrasting opinions on GitLab one and GitHub one. So but yeah, because my repo is in this one, I thought I'll start with this to see how it is.
The two things, like Jenkins is pretty much like getting older and not being able to sustain all the latest use cases, and being open source sometimes is a drawback, that support is not there. And if you go with cloud based, they are very expensive. So people are looking, like some of the recent startups or customers that I am working with, they're all either on GitHub Actions or GitLab, Circle CI. They offer such benefits, and very quick to start. Maintaining Jenkins and all that is, people don't want that sort of thing. Even if they have to pay something, they are happy utilizing products. I have seen people, I don't know if mentioned in this batch, there was one customer using Azure DevOps to manage deployments in AWS also. So they just use Azure DevOps as the product from that Azure family and deploy on AWS. So, yep, good. All right, let's move on to some other things. Dinesh, Pradeep, Shailendra, anything you guys have to highlight today? Anything on the monitoring side, if you have achieved anything different? Or
hi Sanjeev,
hi,
how are
Dinesh.
you? I hope you had a great week. Sorry, I joined late. I was under the impression the session was tomorrow, so I'm sorry for that. So I almost
I told last time there is a cricket match tomorrow this time, so let's
sorry, I did not follow up. Yeah. Anyway, if it was tomorrow, I thought, I will finish the whole thing and show you that everything is set up. I have my CI/CD pipeline ready. If I just change something in a code and build it, automatically it is reflected in ArgoCD. And right from the building, building the jar, Docker image, pushing to ECR. That ECR image, is triggered in CD pipeline, where the CD pipe, in that particular CD pipeline, particular image number will be changed, and that will be monitored by ArgoCD, and it will be reflected in the cluster as well. So
this you already covered. I think this you already covered last week, right? What was missing?
But last time, I said, the build issue was there.
Okay,
so I wanted to see
we have more expectation this time. We want to go and see the rolling updates.
Yes.
Right.
That all I finished. I also installed Lens. I was supposed to finish Prometheus and EFK today, so that I will finish. I thought I'll have a demo tomorrow, but I also have my Lens ready. I can show quickly what the cluster and all what's going on. I can quickly share that and show you the Lens as well. But Prometheus and EFK is still not it's not ready. I was searching. I was doing with the Cube bench as well. And that previously in the last week, there was no stage of scanning the Docker image. I did that as well. I was doing the image exploration with Dive, and I also incorporated HashiCorp Vault to pick up the Docker login credentials. So it will log in with the HashiCorp Vault secrets.
Awesome.
So lot of things are done this way. There's a lot of massive changes there.
Okay. So I don't think we can have the session again tomorrow, but can you do a recording of that and share in the group?
Yes, I will do that. I will definitely do that. I will make a clear picture of what is happening, what CSCD is happening, what is reflecting, what are stages it is going on, and everything I'll show. I'll make a video and I'll post it.
Perfect. Keep it slow, simple, so that people who are very junior and they are just trying to follow, build that story pretty much like you did for July batch, like the flow. And
correct. Definitely. So my question is, are we winding up this project with this week, or do we have anything coming
I think we will close this one. The group, WhatsApp group will be active. People can help each other if they want to build more such thing, they want to demo, or we can always group together if we want to, but we will get into that boot camp next week onwards. So not be able to start something very regularly.
But we also thought, we should be doing a microservice project with incorporating ingress and all that stuff.
Yes.
So we'll not be including. So that's a separate project we should see.
Yeah, definitely. Like this project, as I mentioned, will probably be 25-30% of what we use in the industry. There are a lot of other things associated, and that's why I included some of those in the stretch goal, that you guys should not drop the ball here. You should continue learning in this direction, and there is a lot to do, especially in the security, the routing. So a lot of aspects are there. So we'll see if we can do another one in future, or how we go about it. I'm not sure at this.
So as of now, you don't have any plans for another project?
Right? Maybe in January.
Maybe in Jan.
Yeah, because then this boot camp has to be focused, and yeah, that's the only time we will get. Like, we'll probably do 3-4 hours over the weekend on that. And because this was this was a project where you guys are doing it in the boot camp, people will have a lot of questions, and it's a beginner friendly. So I'm expecting a lot of junior people and people not having so much experience. So we are hoping that it will be very engaging than the projects. Because projects is what we have. These are the sort of projects we have done in our organization. So we have some good idea that, yes, this is doable with these tools, and there is no surprise element. But over there, people are very junior, and so that will be engaging, taking a lot of time, basically.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, we will close this batch today. But as already I have promised you that I will be giving you, because you have done wonderful work in July and August batch. So what I am offering in this batch is, I received a lot of vouchers for the GitOps certifications. So people who have done good work in these projects, they can, it's pretty much like a Terraform or those certifications. So you get an official Credly badge from GitOps Foundation, and you can use it in your resume or in your Credly or in your wherever you are storing your certificates.
Yes,
you can use that.
That would be fantastic. Yeah. Thank you.
And I will update that in the group, that the only thing we require is that you just deliver us a sort of video that you have done, what you have learned. That's it. So we can publish it on our channel, and people can learn from it.
Perfect. Makes sense. Yes.
What else can we talk about today?
Questions, Sanjeev?
Yes, Lendra.
Yeah, I have a quick one. So before starting the classes, I think I've heard that you probably demonstrate from start to end the full project with the industry approved approach. I mean, we all are trying our ways at this moment. We wanted to have a common kind of video recording or a session from end to end, how you do it, probably a demonstration of everything, before we call this project as a
No,
as an end.
I don't have any plan to do that end-to-end demo from my end. We have so many times we have covered that. If I have to do a demo, then we will not spend 6 weeks on this project. You have to learn it. You have to do it. It's always have been a do-it-yourself project. Me demonstrating will raise further questions that, no, I'm using different tools. I'm using different cluster. I'm using different stack. So even that won't be sufficient. You need to be ready with your questions. You need to be asking the right questions, issues that you are facing in this meeting or in the WhatsApp group. That's the way we have to learn. There is no standard way that I can say that this is the way I have done it, and all of you should be doing that way.
But the tools and technologies what we are using, as an example, if I am using something and if I get stuck to a Grafana point and I don't know how to proceed further, at least a reference video can help us
What
moving
is the
forward.
guarantee that what worked in my laptop will work on your laptop also?
At least the steps will be common, right?
Steps we have already shared in the PDF, how we have to go about. Krishna has done their demonstration, how they have done it. Other people,
Okay, so what all you saying is you are not going to demonstrate anything. It was just a DIY kind of project,
it's
and
always been like that.
it is gonna be end today.
That's all. Yes, always have been a DIY. That's the only way you learn. Also, me demonstrating something will not make any magic that it will start working on your side, or it will be anything different from what Krishna or what Dinesh has demonstrated, Pradeep has demonstrated, I think 3 weeks ago. So it's all similar. So instead of me doing it, you take the responsibility. I have been giving so many benefits of, that you guys do it, you learn it, you get stuck, you request in the group and people will come and help you.
No, not really. It's not working in that way. Even people are putting a lot of cautions in that WhatsApp group, and there's no as such responses are received. And just to reveal it, I mean, if you compare it with day one, there may be close to 100 participants, and today, if you see it, there is only 9 or 10. I mean, that's something you can review it later, probably, but there are people struggling, and there is not a proper approach given that these tools or these technologies can be used in this way. So the project can be achieved.
What is that we have not shared, like which tools are not? Did we not discuss how to set up the cluster, how to integrate GitOps with the cluster, how to build the application, how to deploy the application?
Sanjeev, I just want to add something here. Just an example. Just don't get this from anybody. See, whatever I have achieved so far, for all those things, for all those small concepts. So basically, the whole project is connecting all the dots together. So all these connecting dots can be learned from YouTube. So this is just an example. So I found some YouTube tutorial. I was doing exactly like that guy was doing, but it was not coming in my laptop. No, the command was not working. You'll be surprised. I did 85 builds in Jenkins to get it. 85 just for that command. I sat for 4 days. That same command, he was getting it. basically, it has to trigger the another pipeline in the Jenkins. I just followed his GitHub. I followed exactly like his code. He was getting it. I was not getting it. I did 85 builds. 86th build, I got it. So even I did not find any help from the WhatsApp group. So I was researching. So like this, almost 10 to 12 problems. That is the reason, this project has taken a lot of time,
How much,
almost six,
Dinesh,
seventh week.
Dinesh, a question for you. How much time you were giving every day?
I was giving almost 6 to 7 hours a day.
Correct. And being a professional, and people have not the same luxury everywhere, right?
I
But
only
I mean,
sleep 5 hours a day.
I talk
I'm
about
also
myself.
working.
I sleep
Yeah.
6 hours.
So it is.
Okay, and
Yeah.
I'm not getting that much time.
See, I was also not getting time. I was sleeping. I was also working. I'm also professional. I'm also doing project parallelly. I'm also doing the research. I'm also concentrating on my certifications. Parallelly, I'm listening to this. I'm also going for my driving test. There are so many things happening in my life as well. I'm not saying that you see the problem. What you said is correct. WhatsApp was not that helpful. We are covering so many things. The same things are already there in YouTube. But what I'm trying to say here, whatever they are getting in the YouTube, whoever is teaching, is not working for me. It will not work for us. There are some other different things. The environment is different. The versions are different. The distribution, Linux distributions are different. There are so many, moving things which are, it will not be same for whoever it has worked for them. It will not be same for us. That's what I'm trying to put it out. It's not that you did not work out. Even though we are working, I was also facing the same. We are not getting it because just they got in YouTube, whoever is teaching, maybe they have tried 100 times and maybe the one time they are putting it in YouTube. We don't know, right?
Yes, sometimes they skip some steps in between.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe they are showing something else and whatever they got, maybe they are showing only that part.
Yep.
That has been the problem. That life would have been very easy if we had followed exactly like YouTube and we got it.
You take
I wish that.
from Dinesh or Krishna, trust me, it will not work straight away on your laptop or
Exactly.
environment.
Yes.
So you will definitely get into issues. Those things will break, and that is actually not negative. That is the only way you will, will be closer to achieving the project or your learning or whatever outcome you are looking for. Someone demonstrating at very high level, you will not get that idea. You have to build it yourself. That is the motto. And that's how, like, I have been saying, and that's how I got you into the project also. It's never I said that, that I am going to deliver the project. It's you do the project, take the help, take the guidance. What should be the next step in 5-6 weeks, right? 6 weeks, roughly, you have to find 1 or 2 hours in a week where you can spend dedicated time. That's all. You do it weekly basis. If you pile up all that until last week, it's a struggle. But if you constantly work, first week try to set up the cluster, or in fact we had first week to go through all the terminology in the Kubernetes area, so that when you read the documents, you are not stuck there. Second week to set up the cluster, then build the application Docker file for one simple application, then deploy those 2 microservices. Then we moved on, after spending 2 or 3 weeks on that, then we moved on to monitoring side. So yes, you will have to spend time. You will have to learn from the official documentation. You will have to learn from maybe other YouTube videos or other channels also. The idea is that the project will keep you focused, that you are working towards a specific application. And that's how you will build that story in your interview or in your resume, that you deployed a microservices application, which was customer facing. You deployed these many components. Otherwise, by watching these individual videos, you cannot confidently say that you built an application, you deployed an application.
How would you rate it, Sanjeev, that this project, what we have started 6 weeks back, is reached to a success story? It has become a success story. Will you rate it by just a few people comments, I mean, if suppose take an example that someone is taking a technology of EC2, EKS, and probably Jenkins, Docker images, Grafana, Prometheus. If this is the tool structure someone is using, do we have a demonstration end-to-end for the particular thing? In this class, till now, we do not have the technologies. I name it. We don't have end-to-end description of it. My impression was that if we are joining this project, at least a full path of the documentation where everything is recorded, and that would be given. If I am stuck somewhere, you know, there are videos available which we can take it for the reference.
That's
But
not
that
a
is
good.
fine. I understood what you are planning to do now, that we put efforts, try to find out by own and reach to a point, because there's no help. The most important thing, if you have limited 2 or 3 hours in a day where you can put your efforts, you get into a situation where nobody, you know, you're not getting sufficient help to get away with that, and you carry forward with the same problem tomorrow. That problem might exist there for a couple of days also, and you are doing nothing but losing time, right? So reaching to that final stage where people are showing the dashboard of Grafana and Prometheus, all that might take a while. But when you have a reference video which you can follow, probably you might not learn in that way. With the DIY approach, definitely you learn more than that, but at least you will try to achieve that during that frame of time, and after that you can do experiments by own. But at least during this time, you would be putting efforts towards a reference video, that this is something you have achieved by own. Although it is just a reference thing, that yes, if you got stuck somewhere, you can get it reference from something else, but at least you are doing that. But maybe, I mean, there are many more people, they would be having the same concern about that. This is something not going in their direction. They're not able to achieve it. But, but yeah, I mean, based on what I have heard so far, I think it's more like a DIY. If Dinesh or Krishna, people are ready to help, I mean, people will start reaching, and there would be a point that no one would be, you know, that supportive. I'm pretty sure on that.
Exactly.
So because people have their own
you
time,
understand
right?
the problem, right? First of all, you mentioned one technology stack that is relevant, maybe for example, for yourself. But even if we achieve that and do a demo, there could be still 99 people in the group that will say that, no, this is not matching with my stack, and I am probably stuck at a different stage. So somebody stuck for some reason, they need to reach to a level and ask that specific question, that this is where I am stuck. It cannot be that I am not able to start and I don't have time and I need some ready video how it was done. And that the entire stack that you mentioned has been done. I'm not even debating that, but maybe that's not useful. Maybe you are not able to follow that because you yourself have not spent enough time. First, you spend some time, then things will start making sense. Unless you do it yourself, even the videos will not help. You will not get how GitOps gets integrated with a cluster, how some of these things are working together, unless you have done something and reached to a level where you have probably failed. That's absolutely fine. Then you can ask specific questions, that I am stuck at this location. And I have seen people getting into specific Zoom calls. All that has happened. I don't know which date you joined, but people have been helping each other. And if there are any specific questions, I have been trying to answer that. Don't try this approach, or try this approach, or take help from this Docker repository. That is the level of help that you are a working professional, right? You would probably know it better, that even in the job, you will be given a help when you show that you have tried these things, you have reached to this level and you are stuck. Then you reach out
Okay.
to
Just to update you, Sanjeev, I able to deploy Pet Clinic using ArgoCD, and that Pet Clinic is basically stuck to a point where I'm not able to get it explicitly extracted from the web browser. So all the security groups changes I have made, but somehow that is not accessible. On the other side, Nginx and everything worked fine, but this is where I am stuck right now. So when it comes to the efforts, I have already crossed the point where I was deploying the image of Docker image and deploying those changes in the deployment and service YAML, everything that is achieved. So I am in that process. Now, just to rephrase what I have said, the technology is what I mentioned. If you see the WhatsApp group, we have 95 people in that group, EKS group, which we created. Yep. So the technologies, the common technology, what I have mentioned, and not just I am the only one, there are 95 people added in that, and they are using the same technologies.
Absolutely.
And on the same technologies, I am telling that there is no outcome, there is no end-to-end video reference is provided. And that's where we are, we will be left behind with DIY, DIY approach only.
Yes, there is no question that it will always be the same, like you have to achieve yourself. That definitely is the approach. There could be help provided if you do a demonstration now that this is where I'm stuck. I'm more than happy. People should be able to help you out. There is no second thought. You request within the group that this is where you are struggling. You ask those specific questions. There is, if you follow the demos, people have demonstrated what changes they had to make. We specifically talked about that there is no need for any security groups or any such things to be applied in this. It's all through the load balancer. The services are exposed. There is no space unless you have made very different infrastructure. Even if you are using EKS or any such platform, it's entirely up to you how you want to expose those applications, how you want to. There could be differences even if you follow the same stack. That's why I said, even if you take repository from people who have achieved it, there is no guarantee that it will work straight away in your environment also. You will have to debug, you will have to make it stable. That's again do it yourself kind of approach. They can share their repository which is working in their environment, but you may again struggle. It could be the Jenkins or GitLab that you are configuring. It could be the version of Kubernetes that you are using. Could be anything. The amount of the number of worker nodes you have, the specification of those worker nodes that you have, any changes you made to your cluster while setting up before you received their repository, everything will have impact on how you have configured your environment. So, and that is the learning. The demo or watching somebody finishing it for you is not the learning. You do it, struck somewhere, ask those specific questions, and that's the way.
And Sanjay, if you see the DevOps Cloud August, the main group, the communication was last on 26th of last month. From then till now, there is no specific question on where people struck on that one. And on the EKS also, the communication happened on 2nd. So it's been a week. There were no questions because why I'm trying to say this. Even in the July project, even in the August project, Sheen and we are trying our best to tell if there is any problem. If we have sorted it, we are trying to tell. But there is no specific questions in the main group and in the EKS group as well. And Sanjeev, I want to tell you one funny thing. I've deployed EKS cluster with Terraform. Okay, I have the code ready. I have deployed it on fourth week of this project. It worked, and the same cluster, after 5th week, I have destroyed it. And yesterday, when I launched it, tried to deploy the same code, it did not work out. Because the compatibility issues have changed. The model number has changed. The version numbers have changed. The same code, what I did, it did not work for me yesterday.
Right. Yeah, that's why I'm saying things can be very different. even if you take working source code from your environment, not working after 2 weeks. So you give it to somebody, it may not work. So that's why it will raise further questions that, okay, what you demonstrated or was not helpful. It was actually, somebody may claim that, it actually wasted their time or that sort of thing. But
so the destroy of the services as well. So as Dinesh was saying, the Terraform to set up the cluster is one thing, but then there could be issues when it's starting to destroy it, which could mean some resources are left over, and then that would have a financial implication as well. So it's
yes, true. Because there were a few subnets were left out. There was not destroying. I had to manually destroy it. And even though the same code which worked 2 weeks back, I tried to provision it with the same thing. It did not work. I had to change the EBS drivers version number, then it worked. So I don't know. I mean, in the open source, they keep changing the things and all. The environment is changing, so it's not working.
All right. So Shailendra, long story short, the project, the sessions we are closing, but it's not the end. You do it, ask those specific questions in the group, reach out to people who have done it. And if you are still struggling, we'll do something. We'll try best to resolve those issues. But bring the right questions. That is the only ask. That is the only thing we say. If a rough diagram has to be created that I set up an EKS cluster and I have an EC2 instance, it's all working, deployment is successful, pods are in running state, but it's not working. Just draw a draft diagram and just seek help that what should I open, security group or knackles or what is, ideally there shouldn't be a need, but if that you believe that is the way, just just ask that specific question that this is where I am stuck.
Yeah, sure. I'm still spinning up the servers. If they get ready in next 7-10 minutes and the session lasts, I can probably share my screen. I can show what I have achieved so far and where I got stuck.
Yeah, let's do that. We can extend it if people can stay on the call for some time.
Sanjeev, I have a question. In this project, I've heard a lot of times in the deployment files, in the Kubernetes manifest files, we give this resource quotas, right? How much CPU and how much memory you want to allocate for this application for a pod at a pod level. I mean, maybe I got this solution long ago, but I forgot. How do you decide? I mean, how much how much resources your application is going to take? On what basis you will allocate the resource quotas? Any idea on that?
Again, there is no standard answer. It's, for example, how do you decide when you are deploying an application, which EC2 instance you are going to take?
Yeah.
You don't know, right? What the application
is. Yes.
The application is. That's why they give these different memory optimized instances. So you will see that just going to that basic. So what is memory optimized instances are? Their RAM and CPU combinations are unique in, you know that, right?
Yes.
So for example, a memory optimized instance means that there will be a 4 CPU and a 64 GB RAM, for example. It's a very weird combination. Just 4 CPUs and 64 GB RAM, right? You will not see this combination in the compute optimized. There you will see 5 GB, 4 GB RAM and 32 cores or 16 cores,
32 cores.
something like that. So these sort of combinations AWS has given. Based on your use case, you will select the right instance. If you are doing a lot of read write from disk, doing in-memory calculation, then you will look for a memory optimized one. If you are doing a lot of calculations, you will look for a compute optimized. If you are saving cost and you don't know, you will use probably a burstable T2 or TCD and that sort of thing. So And you also will understand what application you are running. You probably would do that in dev environment and understand that. Now, same concept applies here also. Upfront, you may not know what CPU and RAM you will be using, but as a good practice, you should specify that. So you will start that in the dev environment, that you start with a quarter of CPU and a quarter of RAM and something like that. And you will, obviously it will.
So if at that point, if it is not working, then you will slowly, gradually increase, and you will come to a stable.
It will be unstable, and it will be unstable, and it will give you feedback that that it's not memory requirements are there or CPU requirements are there, and then you will extend it. That's how you will do it in your lower environments. Similarly, your monitoring system will give you feedback in your higher environments that after a certain load or after a certain event or specific day of the time, your number of containers are going unhealthy, and that's where the monitoring system will help you, that how many replicas you need and what should be their specifications, and you will then adjust it.
Okay. On the same lines, I have one more question, Sanjay. So when we are doing this auto scaling concept, be it nodes or be it at a pod level, you use HPA and use cluster autoscaler, right? So it is compulsory that you specify in this way, or it is compulsory to mention as a event-driven kind of environment where you get these many events when you have these many queues in line. At that point, you want to increase the number of ports or nodes. So it is always event system, or it is necessary not to be not to have that environment.
No, it's always metrics driven. It's always driven by some metric.
CPU and RAM metrics only.
Yes. Yeah, those are the one. There could be additional complex scenario where then obviously you will look at those metrics also. But these basic things are definitely CPU and RAM.
Because I've been hearing this event-driven kind of architecture, where
you can look up
autoscale based on the.
Yeah, you can look up other sources. Could be your message queue based thing, but again, that very complicated use case.
Complicated. But it won't be. Not all projects would be this complicated, exactly. Right? Where you not all decide based on the events, right?
Correct. For example, there was one project we were not even using HP and all these auto scaling because we knew how critical the application is and what is the expected load on that. So we don't complicate unnecessarily. If it is customer facing, your workloads are dynamic, then you will implement these things and they will be driven by a metric.
Okay, it's best.
On the same note, I've also seen there are things, a concept called vertical autoscaling. I don't know
vertical autoscaling.
Actually used. Is it really used in the industry as such, or is that more of a conceptual thing?
I think, whoever I've communicated with about the projects and all this stuff, they said they only use HPA most of the time. VPA is not that used in the organizations.
Yeah.
And in the project, when I push the Docker image to the ECR, it is scanning and it is giving all the reports, like how many critical are there. I have enabled it in the Terraform itself. As soon as the image is pushed, it should scan. But my question here is, once if you see what is critical and what can be ignored and what are the warnings, we should only sort it. Like, who will be responsible to sort all the issues? I can understand if the issue is related to the code, the developer will do. Otherwise, I think, are we the responsible person who should be able to make it clear?
Organization, what the roles and responsibilities are, and usually, yes, DevOps team is the one that will get these alerts and will get these information that some output is coming from scanning the Docker image. Usually Docker image scan is also 2 or 3 different levels, right? You can do a static analysis of the Docker file. And
yes, we use Hadolint and we see what's wrong in it.
And then you can also scan the image when that gets built.
Correct.
And then there is a third level where you scan the container when it's running in your environment.
Yeah.
So
now that's a dynamically.
So these are the 3 levels at least where you should be monitoring containers. So usually not 100%, but the first 2 stages is usually the developer, because they are building that Docker file. Okay, again, this all depends. In some organizations, the Docker file building is a DevOps function. But a lot of things are now moving to the developer area, and they are getting self-sufficient. And for example, in Visual Studio, there is an option that you automatically, it can scan your .NET projects and it can build a Docker file for you automatically. I'm not sure if other tools will also probably have that.
In the Java also, we have that sort of thing.
Yeah. So developers are basically getting used to creating a Docker file, and also when they build it, they need feedback. So if there are build level issues reported by, say, Sneak is integrated, so DevOps will integrate Sneak in the pipeline, and maybe just walk away and say that, okay, my job is at least for now done. If there are critical issues, you can also configure that if there are critical issues reported by Sneak, so Sneak will report at different levels, like it's a low priority issue, or it's a high priority issue, or it's a critical issue. So DevOps will configure that if there are critical issues in the Docker file or in the image that's created, I will not allow that image to be deployed. So that build is basically broken. That build is not successful. So, and that's how developers start getting feedback. Okay, my image was not correct. So he will fix that. So those level 1 and level 2 usually get fixed by the developers or with the help of DevOps engineers. That gets sorted there. In the production, it's usually the operations team or DevOps team or Cloud Ops or whatever that function is. Because now it's running in the production, developers are not looking at it. They are adding more features to the application. They are building application. They are on that's their responsibility. So whoever is managing the production infrastructure, they will ensure that the right tool is in place that can scan the existing containers. Because earlier people would hack into an EC2 instance and do something. Now there is an attack surface area that they can, the attack on containers, so they can get into your container. Sorry. So that's a different function. You should have the right tools in place which can monitor your running containers. And some best practices that even if somebody gets into the container, they are not root users. They don't have full access. The environment variables don't have secrets and that sort of thing. So if you have to connect to a database, you start the container, connect to the database, have those environment variables, and then clean up everything. Don't store anything in the environment variable after that.
Okay.
So that sort of thing. And there are different tools. Sneak probably is capable of doing that, but AquaSec is one. Aqua is pretty much used in large organizations and all, and it can scan your running. It will tell you that there are 50 containers running across your Kubernetes cluster, what permissions they have, their stability, their security, and all sort of aspects.
Okay.
So who does what is depending upon the organization, how things are structured. These 3 stages are possible. Usually 1 or 2 managed by the developers or whoever worked on the building that Docker file is usually responsible for stage 1 and 2. Stage 3 is usually whoever is maintaining the production infrastructure.
Okay.
Yep.
Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. So I just spin up the servers. They are up and running. And I am connected to ArgoCD. Tried deploying the application. And
this is a test for everyone now. Let's see. Let's understand your environment. Is it running EKS or Minikube? Or...
yeah. All right. So and don't take it wrong, Sanjeev. It's really not a test. It's I'm testing myself with all the scenarios and the limited time. So please.
No worries. No worries.
Yeah. This is
still initializing your stack.
Yeah. This is what the T2 medium I have used, and this is my EKS cluster.
Yeah.
If I show you the sorry. So this is not this one. This is the Docker file I'm using, which is deploying the images.
I see.
got
something, some missing. You're not using the profile, MySQL profile.
I'm not using MySQL because I'm not. I'm yet to configure MySQL at this point.
Okay.
I'm using the default database.
Okay.
Trying with the first stage 1.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll configure that. This is the Jenkins file. So everything is getting done through Jenkins. I took help from Pawan. We were on the call last week, and I tried to do it through a script, shell script, which does everything for me.
Okay.
So that is sorted. I mean, this is what the tools I'm using, and after getting the cluster ready, I try to. This is the correct picture of the replica sets. What I have. Okay, and this is the load balancer URL. And if I try to access it now, so when I take the public IP of any of the node.
You don't need the node public IP, right?
You need cluster
We don't need.
endpoint.
Sorry?
You need to take the load balancer IP address or load balancer DNS. Note the instance. Instance are temporary in nature.
Okay.
So are you sure this is the one that you created with this process now?
Yeah, there were no load balances before.
Why there are 3 of them? No, all of them are created on different dates. Make sure you are terminating. They are very expensive.
Okay, I'll terminate them.
Use the latest one for now. Use the
this is the latest one I have.
The one on 9.
Yeah.
Use this.
just to show you the security groups. This is the security group.
Sorry to interrupt. I think that need to be on the default port, which is 8080.
Yeah, I mean, why are you using the node port number again?
It's not node. This one?
The 31947. What is 31947? Yeah.
Okay.
8080. Which application is listening to 8080, right?
Yeah.
Then yeah, give 8080.
Also in the command line where you saw there's a URL for the load balancer. Just make sure it's the same thing, but that's the one you're hitting.
On here, are you saying?
Yeah, in your command line.
Just check
so the other one,
KSVC,
there's one more
GitHub.
command where you did kubectl get all. Yeah, here there's a load balancer here, A005.
Yes.
Yeah. Make sure if that's the same thing you are hitting.
Yeah. Okay.
A00547.
A005. 5E806. 5E806. Yeah, this is the same one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I think it might be helpful to actually test this out whether I suspect the way you built your Docker image might not be the right way to do it. Just looking at the Docker file, I might be wrong, but
let me show you.
Yeah, because I think if you just launch it locally before even going on to AWS, see if it can actually, you can spin up the container to hit that URL locally.
And before all this, Shailendra, you can just check the logs of the pod first. See,
yeah, sure.
First, the pet clinic has started or not.
Yeah, good
get pods. First, get pods. Get pods.
Okay.
Yeah, what is your pod? That's a pod, right? K logs, and give that pod name. K logs. Yeah, kubectl logs. Logs. Just logs. No. Remove get.
Okay.
And yeah, select the complete whole thing. Double click. Yeah. Enter. See your come down. Yeah, started BitClink application. Your application is running. I think the load balancer is taking little time, but I'm not sure why did you get that 31947. Once show your deployment file, the same BitClink application deployment file.
Sure.
No. Yeah. Yes. Container port 80. Service.
Yeah.
Type load balancer port 8080, target port 8080 should be there. What have you given in the app deployment? No. Deployment 80 only. Then you should not give any 8080 there now. For the load balancer. For the load balancer.
Yeah, it should directly take that one. I tried that too. But it did not work.
Yeah.
Can we look at what command you ran on? There was reference to 8080 and also a different port.
You want me to check what? Sorry, Sanjay?
The how you expose your service.
Yeah. Through a load balance. Oh, that okay. Yeah.
Node port or whatever you used.
Yeah, sure. I have used this load balancer in that, but I'll show you that Docker file also.
No, not this one. You ran something on the terminal, right? To expose the service.
That is for this
ArgoCD, that's for ArgoCD.
I'm not exposing that port anywhere. It's just the ArgoCD one which I am accessing through UI.
Yeah, expose command is not there. You should expose the application, right?
Should be
Caps.
before.
Caps.
Should be before that or?
Before that, yeah, before the command. Yes, there. And we have to build the image again, change the image name in the deployment.
Oh, okay. That.
Yeah, of course. Changing here will not reflect there, right?
Yeah. I probably need
you have to build it again. Yeah.
First, you can
have to expose, otherwise.
Then you can run it locally. First, you are building the Docker. Just do a Docker build on your laptop and do a Docker run, and then
even for that, I have to spin up that. But that's fine. I'll get an idea now. So, I mean, the motto was just to show you that the small issues, take a lot of your time. And that is where I was looking for something. If we get something in reference, but that's fine. I can explore myself, do whatever it takes. If anyone is available, I can probably reach out to Dinesh or Sharad or whoever is available. I mean, I can take a help. I understand the importance of time. I am a professional worker, so I don't ping usually with every single thing. I kind of bunch together the whole issues, the 3-4 issues what I'm facing, and we can probably discuss. But so far,
maybe you can do this also. If the same thing were asked, like a specific question on the group already, you would have got your answer long back. But these kind of specific questions were important. You have started application, but it's not showing up in the browser. Maybe we would have asked you to show your Docker file. The same thing, whatever we are asking, we would have asked the same question in the group as well. And collectively asking 3-4 questions would not work. Whatever the issue you get, then and there you ask small issues. Piling up all the issues and taking time for that, it won't be possible, right?
Yeah, right. Makes sense. Maybe I became a voice of many of the people, Sanjeev. Don't take me wrong. This is what I was thinking, that it might be a better idea to provide an end-to-end video so that people can reference it. But I understood that this is purely a DIY thing. People can explore it more by their own, and they can learn in a better way. So completely understood.
Yeah. And that's why we take enough time, 6-7 weeks to do it slow, so that we are not rushing. And it's not like, oh, you did it and that's it, you showed it, but we are still struggling. So take your time, learn it within the community, ask those questions and build your solution. We are also experimenting. It's just that we don't know how to effectively run all these large programs and all that sort of thing. So maybe next time we will have the demos ready, but I'm sure there will be challenges with that also, because that will not run on everybody's computer. So all right then, I think we'll close it for now, and I'll publish this recording and all other opportunities that we have in the group.
All right, Sanjay. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks everyone for your time.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.